Um, the type of apps we do, so with Magic Solver, we are app discovery specialists. So we specialize with app discovery with free app magic and seasonal apps for Halloween, Valentine's Day, football apps, Christmas apps. And we had apps #1 in more than 50 different countries. And we worked with more than 500 developers within our apps. And we generated more than 40 million downloads with Magic Solvers. We develop apps with Blue Panda apps about entertainment and games. We did a lot of photo application, photo stickers. We did a Christmas booth. We have a Halloween spooky booth, Valentine's booth, so like you can make yourself Santa Claus. And last but not least, with App Chocolate, is a festive mobile app studio. So we specialize around Christmas. So every year since 2009, we do an advent calendar. So an advent calendar, for the one who are not familiar, is really popular tradition in Europe, coming since the Middle Age, which is a countdown to Christmas, and from the 1st December up to Christmas Day is a countdown, and every day you open a door or a window and you get a chocolate. But there is no room for a chocolate in a smartphone, so instead of getting a chocolate, you get a free app you can download every day. So we partner every year with 25 different publishers and developers around the world who have really interesting casual games or games who have a good fit with the advent calendar. And usually the app is quite successful. It's usually #1 in more than 30 countries across Europe. And you get over 10 million downloads since 2014 with the various different editions of the calendar. So in terms of tips, how to make your game big. First things too important is to know who is really your audience. You know, you need to know your audience. And today there is a lot of analytics, a lot of way you can learn, understand that. Of course, you know it with Facebook audience. You can match with your Facebook users, with flurries, with different analytics. We can track the socio-demographics. Not only age and like sex, but also geographical location, you know, between cities and rural areas, the type of interest of our users. So that's really important to know that. Age group, type of apps, country, language. And that's really important to have this deep understanding, because sometimes we want to assume, oh, we have this gender, this type of apps, but actually the reality is different. So you need to check it with real users. So among some of our apps, we have some apps like FaceShift is a photo application. It's just with facial recognition. And it was really strong in Japan, in China, and it became really viral there. It's really teenager brand. We have an app like a Christmas booth with photo stickers. It's really strong in US, in Europe. It's really seasonal. It's more like a family audience with stickers and Santa Claus costumes. Quote of the day is different. It's inspirational quotes. So it's mainly female, 75%, mainly in Europe. And we do really quote in local languages, like for the French market, German market, Italian market. So it's not translation of quote, it's really local quote in each country. So you have really, really strong user base in specific countries. And Eurofootball, which is a good one to follow football, with mainly male. So it's really important within your portfolio of apps to really understand that. And if we start doing cross-marketing between apps, to know if it's really a really good match between your application. Then you need to find your voice. When you start speaking with your users, you need to think who you're speaking with. In some languages, like in French, in Japanese, in German, probably in Russian too, you have also different level of politeness. If you say tu and vous, usted and tú in Spanish. So you need to speak to user in the right way. If you talk to kids or if you talk to adults, it's slightly different. And you need to use a really visual way in your screenshot for your tutorial to make it clear. benchmark your competitors also and improve. When you do an app, there is so many competition out there. It's really important that you have a deep look at who are doing, what your competitors are doing. When we're starting Magic Mania, we tested different apps, you know. We worked with a lot of match-free games, and we saw, okay, we wanted to feel a bit different with an adventure, with something like Harry Potter style, and the apps worked really well with over 1 million downloads. It's really niche one, but it's really different universe. So you try to find your niche, bring something that doesn't exist currently in the market. You need also to understand the difference between the different app store. Of course, you have the obvious difference between App Store, Apple App Store and Google Play. Is slightly different demographic and different country splits. Like Android is stronger in emerging markets, is stronger in a lot of different countries, while App Store is stronger in US, in UK, in Japan, in other countries. So it's slightly different countries, different demographics. So that is really important when you start to do campaign and try to promote, which target audience is slightly different. Algorithm is also different. If you want to be visible on the App Store, on iOS, the ranking is per country. So you can be really, really strong in UK and not strong in France or in Germany or in Ukraine. So every country is different rating. The algorithm is more short term. So is download in the last 72 hours have a huge importance on how you are displayed, how you are visible within the App Store. Why for Android, the algorithm is longer. They use more the total user base, the install base compared of number of download. So that's quite important, because if you do some apps that are more seasonal, like we do at App Chocolate, the algorithm is different for Android and iOS. If you do new updates, or the way it will the impact on the install rating, or the reviews, how is going to be visible, but that's really, really important to have that in mind. The same if you do user acquisition, of course, is not the same strategy on iOS and Android to be successful. But we will talk a bit about that a bit later on. Strategy need to be adapted. Search engine optimization, the monetization, the translation, the user acquisition technique, and the different partnership. So you need to keep that in mind. You can test with, of course, one platform and then doing another one, if you really master, or try both, depending, your confidence and your technical team. Translation is crucial, but translation is not only a basic translation, it's not Google translation or just a basic translation of the app. It's more than that. You need to adapt to translate, of course, the title, the keywords, and you will see some increase. You can see 30 to 100% increase. You can adapt, translate the screenshot. You can translate the app itself to increase retention. So usually we worked with a lot of different translators. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, but it's something is important to keep in mind. You need to have a clear monetization strategy. It can vary. There is no like one size fits all. Some people say, oh, it's much better if you're indie developer to go for freemium application or to go for paid app. Both model can work. It really depends the type of apps, what your competition are doing, what's your unique aspect of your app. Even you copy the best practice, so what your competitor are doing, so you do the same and better, or you can disrupt and you do something different. In some niche, some really successful app was paid app, and then the first one we did a free app, a freemium service with the same type of apps. It was a huge success because it's the same for free. So usually a free app compared to a paid app will get 50 times more downloads on average. So you get more volume with a free app. Of course, you have a challenge of a free app, how you will monetize with advertising, with in-app purchase. So you really need to have your game experience, you really need to think it through it before. So with advertising, you need to experience different ad formats, because monetization doesn't work the same way, and especially on different geos, between emerging countries, Europe, US, you don't get the same type of monetization. Incentivized videos, reward ads can be really, really profitable for mobile gaming. Providing is really integrated with your game experience. It shouldn't be like disrupt your game experience, but should be like a natural flow. Sponsorship can be also a good way to go. We did a few apps with sponsorship, and like a sponsor can providing there's a good match between what we do and what the company is doing. It could be quite successful. So at App Chocolate, you get a few sponsorship experience, and it works really well for some football apps, rugby apps, or some Christmas apps. Subscription model can be interesting, and again, iOS and Android, you can have different business model. Measure, that's crucial, your KPI. So when you do something, you need to measure. And there is so many tools out there to really measure. It's important not to get too many metrics, because at the end of the day, you might not have time to analyze it. So it's really important you take time to really analyze the different key metrics. So you need to have the basic right, so you really understand. And not only you, but you need to share it with the team. You know, it need to be a collective process within a company, between the tech team, the marketing teams, from the founders to everyone in the company need to understand what the success of the game. So the KPIs, of course, are the downloads with different attribution, with different source of downloads, the activation rate, so the people from download, how many people will open the app. On average, is only 85% of people who download the app are really using the app, so there's a big discrepancy there. If you do acquisition, the cost per install is really important to also compare the pay install and organic install performance. Your engagement, so it's important to get the metrics, the 3 days, 7 days retention rate, daily active users, monthly active users. That's really important metrics. Everyone say what's the good metric, what a good or bad metric. There is no simple answer, because every type of apps, it can be really, really different behavior. So you really need to compare with yourself within your different apps, and maybe with your direct competitor or similar type of apps. How do you compare to some standard in the industry? Then about engagement, so it's really important to track events. When you use different analytics attribution partners like Coachava, Apps Flyers, Tune, etc. You can track events. If you use Firebase, Facebook audience, you need to track, reach different levels, in-app purchase, different sharing with social media, etc. So you need to track events, and you can track on different platforms, because in our experience, even the same metrics, the same events on different platforms, we end up with completely different numbers. So you want some consistency. So there's no right or wrong metrics, but if you have between one tracking partners, it's important to see the whole funnel of conversion, and to see what's your funnel of conversion with a specific tracking partners. So always good to have at least 2 or 3 tools of tracking. It could be one internal tool, it could be 1 or 2 third-party tool, because if one tool is failing, at least you have another tool we can work. Because we happen to launch some apps, and then we get screwed because it was no tracking anymore. So tracking, that's really essential. You need to spot the engagement at different steps, from the tutorial, the different milestone, the journey of your users within your game. And you can segment also your users per device, per geos, per type of user. So you can do subgroups. And that can be really understand you to different type of users. But it's really important to keep the the big pictures, because it could be tempting to say, okay, let's split and let's do really niche user acquisition or really niche marketing with this type of user, which is really profitable, but really a narrow segment. And at the end of the day, those games, it's mass market products, so we need volumes. So we need to understand our users, but at the same time, to get a critical mass of users. So don't target too narrow. It still need to be a pretty big groups. Outcomes, so you need to understand your different conversion rate, your average revenue per user, and that's important to measure the whole average revenue per users with the whole cycle, so life cycle of your users, with in-app purchase, with advertising. Even if you do cross-marketing or sponsorship within your apps, you need to understand your different stream of revenues. Some developers do a lot of revenues with third-party partnership outside the game. So it's really important to be open-minded what could be the different stream of revenues. And you need to get it clear to get your return on investment. So when you do user acquisition, when you're ready, when you are enough, you understand your lifetime value of a customers. So then you say, okay, I can start doing more user acquisition. I know I will get more snowball effect, more organic growth, because the more downloads I will get, the more I will be visible on the App Store instead of visibility, App Store optimization, your keywords, your organic search will increase. So doing user acquisition will give you additional snowball effect, but it's really essential to get the first metric right, so then before you can start scaling up. So test the water before burning your cash. It's tempting sometimes to say, okay, I have money, I get some funding, I get some support, let's make it big to start. No, first you need to test some beta version extensively with friends and family, in multiple devices, multiple languages. It looks basic, but I know so many developers who just forget to switch to a different language or to test with a different OS, old version of the phone or different screen size. Test with outsiders, people we don't know about your app at all. You just give them the phone and say, okay, try the game, don't teach them. And you just observe and you see if it makes sense for them, how they react, how they pass the tutorial and thing. Market test, you could try with 1 or 2 small geos, like 1 or 2 beta tests to tweak the game. It can be really, really useful, but it takes a bit more time. So it's a trade-off between how much tweaking you want to do in a small geo, or would you like to make it big from day one? There's no simple solution, but usually market tests can help. And you need to test different user acquisition channels. Don't burn too much cash before knowing your KPIs in terms of retention, average revenue per users. You need to test different channels. And of course, for user acquisition, it's really funny, but usually the first users you get are usually the best in the channel. So if you do user acquisition on Facebook, the first 10, 50,000 downloads you will get, they will be really cheap. But then when you start to invest more, you will saturate, your audience on a specific geos. So in every channel, the more you try to get users on a specific channel, it will cost you more and more. So we need to test the water, and then you can scale up with the right ad banners or the right visual or the one marketing assets. So you need also to analyze and iterate to improve your metrics. So read and answer your user reviews. Now there is possibility on iTunes and on Google Play to answer the reviews from users, so you can engage with all your users. It's not easy, it takes time. You might need someone within your team to dedicate to that, but it will pay off because users appreciate when we do that. Scale up and build the momentum. So when your KPIs are right, it's time to scale up. Good retention, good average revenue for users. You need to combine multiple user acquisition channels. So you can use Facebook, Google, Twitter, ad banners. You can use App Discovery Travel or App Chocolate Calendar. So what we do with Advent Calendar, we're not an agency, but as a publisher, every year we partners with 25 game companies or game publishers, and with our advent calendar, we partners with a publisher. So one a day in Christmas. So that's one different channel. So it works really well for some developers. For other developers, it's not the right fit. So you need to think what's the best channel for you. So you need to test and discuss and to talk with different people. Incentivize, PR, influencers. So you need to explore and see what's the right fit for you. Briefly, because I think we're almost the end. So just some case studies. So when we do the Christmas booth, we did some campaign before, after, and when we launch the app, we get, during the advent calendar 1 year, so 250,000 downloads in the first 48 hours. Then we get the snowball effect, because it was a perfect Christmas application, so you get over 1 million downloads in December. So that's the all downloads it gets in December. And then in terms of in-app purchase, we saw the before-after campaign. It was a big, huge, and then like it maintained the number of in-app purchase. So that's an increase in terms of revenues. So you need to see how it goes in volume and in terms of revenues. Again, another experience of some campaign we did with a quote of the day. So that was a download before. We get a promotion, you get around 20,000 downloads. Then you get a snowball effect of 5,000 downloads, so another 25%, just the days after. And then you had a daily download plus 20%, which is based on the search engine optimization. So when you do a user acquisition campaign, then you will be more visible on the App Store, so you get naturally more download there. So your baseline is higher. And then it's important to compare in terms of the user acquisition, the term of quality of users. So we compare usually when we do campaign. So some of our campaign we compare the daily retention on day 1, day 7. So our organic users 71% and 54%. And the campaign we did with Advent Calendar was 77-61. So it was more loyal than average. So you need to compare with your demographics, with the type of fit. If it's a good fit, that could pay off a lot. So thank you very much, and I wish you the best of luck for your success in your next game.